Welcome to Horror Echo, where chilling tales and dark mysteries come to life. I'm your name, and tonight we're delving into the spine-tingling story of The Whispering Walls. Get ready for a journey through a haunted mansion, where every whisper holds a secret and every shadow conceals a horror. If you're ready for a thrilling ride into the unknown, hit that subscribe button and let's explore the eerie and the unexplained together. Nestled on the desolate outskirts of a quaint, unsuspecting town, the mansion looms, a faded monument to a bygone era. Once a grand estate, it now stands in somber decay, its once gleaming facade marred by the ravages of time and neglect. The once lush gardens have withered into tangled, thorny undergrowth, and broken windows peer out like hollow eyes. Locals speak in hushed whispers about the mansion's eerie reputation. They claim that, as darkness falls, a chilling murmur seeps from its walls, an unsettling whisper that hints at the mansion's haunting past. Built in the late 1800s by the Astor family, the mansion was intended to be a showcase of their immense wealth and social standing. However, the grandeur of its creation was overshadowed by a series of tragic events that plagued the family. Rumors of a sinister presence began circulating soon after the mansion was completed. Those brave, or perhaps foolish, enough to live there spoke of an uncanny sensation of being watched and hearing unnerving voices that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. This history of inexplicable phenomena creates a chilling backdrop for the events that are about to unfold. One particularly harrowing incident, a sudden and unexplained disappearance of a family member, foreshadows the darkness that will later engulf the mansion. This event casts a long shadow over the estate, hinting at the malevolent force that lingers within. The arrival. Evelyn Carter, a struggling horror novelist in the midst of a creative slump, becomes intrigued by the mansion's dark allure. Her latest novel has stalled, and she's desperate for inspiration. Hearing about the mansion's eerie reputation, Evelyn sees an opportunity to escape her mundane routine and isolate herself in the mansion's eerie splendor. Although she considers herself a skeptic, she is drawn to the mansion's isolation, believing it to be the perfect setting to rekindle her creative spark. Evelyn's personal history is marked by unresolved grief and strained family relationships. The recent loss of a sibling and ongoing tensions with her family have left her emotionally fragile. Her decision to rent the mansion, despite the locals' dire warnings, reflects her desire for solitude and a fresh start. She dismisses their superstitions as mere folklore and takes residence in the mansion, planning to spend a month there to complete her novel. On her first night, the mansion's silence is interrupted only by the distant sounds of the town. Evelyn experiences a creeping sense of unease, but she attributes it to the house's age and her own apprehension. As she settles in, the feeling of being watched lingers, though she brushes it off as the remnants of her own anxiety. Unsettling whispers. The mansion, though initially calm, soon begins to reveal its unsettling nature. Evelyn starts to hear faint whispers, an eerie, almost imperceptible sound that seems to drift through the halls. The whispers are sporadic at first, making her think they are just the result of the house settling or the wind outside. As Evelyn explores the mansion, she stumbles upon a dust-covered journal hidden in the basement. The journal once belonged to Catherine Astor, one of the mansion's original occupants. Catherine's writings are filled with disturbing accounts of her descent into madness. She describes hearing disembodied voices and witnessing strange, unexplainable phenomena. Her accounts suggest that the mansion itself was alive and feeding on the family's collective fear and sorrow. The whispers intensify as night falls, becoming louder and more intrusive. Evelyn begins to feel as though the walls are pulsating with a malevolent presence, and the whispers seem to echo her innermost thoughts and fears. Despite her rational mind's attempt to dismiss these experiences, the growing intensity of the whispers unsettles her deeply. Secrets in the basement. Driven by a growing sense of dread and curiosity, Evelyn ventures deeper into the mansion's basement. The basement is a dark, musty space cluttered with rotting furniture and forgotten relics. Among the debris, she discovers strange symbols carved into the walls, symbols that seem to pulse with an eerie energy. Further investigation into Catherine's journal reveals disturbing insights into her unraveling sanity. Catherine believed that the mansion was a living entity, preying on her family's emotions and driving them to the brink of madness. Her writings hint at a connection between the mansion's whispers and her family's descent into despair. As the whispers grow louder, Evelyn begins to hear fragments of her own thoughts and past traumas intertwined with the disembodied voices. Her growing paranoia is compounded by a chance encounter with Tom, a local man with a mysterious connection to the mansion. Tom warns Evelyn about the basement's dark history, hinting at occult rituals and a malevolent presence that has been tied to the mansion for decades. The haunting escalates. The whispers become more frequent and disturbingly personal, reflecting Evelyn's deepest insecurities and fears. They seem to mock her failures and vulnerabilities, amplifying her sense of isolation and dread. As Evelyn delves deeper into Catherine's journal, she learns that Catherine believed the mansion was cursed, with an otherworldly entity residing within its walls. This entity, according to Catherine, had driven her family to madness, and there were hints of a dark force that lived within the mansion itself. Evelyn's experiences escalate into terrifying hallucinations. She sees shadowy figures flitting at the edge of her vision and hears ghostly laughter echoing through the halls. The mansion's layout seems to shift and distort, trapping her in an ever-changing maze of corridors and rooms. Time itself seems to bend and warp, adding to her sense of disorientation and terror. The entity revealed. Evelyn's mental state deteriorates rapidly. She becomes obsessed with the notion that a malevolent entity resides within the walls of the mansion. The whispers now address her directly, using her name and intensifying her fear. In a hidden room she discovers behind a concealed wall in the basement, Evelyn uncovers ancient texts on necromancy and summoning rituals. These texts, along with other evidence, suggest that the Astor family had engaged in dark magical practices, seeking to bind an otherworldly entity to the mansion in a misguided quest for immortality. A flashback reveals the grim truth. Catherine Astor had performed a ritual intended to bind the entity, believing it would grant her family eternal life. Instead, the ritual unleashed a force that drove them to insanity. Evelyn realizes that the whispers are not mere noises. They are the trapped voices of the Astor family, their spirits imprisoned within the mansion's walls, crying out for release. Descent into madness. As Evelyn's grasp on reality weakens, her nightmares become more vivid and terrifying. She dreams of walls closing in around her, and the whispers taunt her with promises of never escaping the mansion's clutches. Her mental state deteriorates further as Tom reveals that his grandfather had worked for the Astor family and knew of the curse that plagued the mansion. Tom offers to help Evelyn escape, but the mansion seems determined to keep her trapped. The entity manipulates her memories, blending past and present in a nightmarish haze. Evelyn is haunted by visions of her deceased sibling and is forced to relive her past traumas in excruciating detail. Evelyn becomes convinced that the only way to end the torment is to destroy the mansion. However, the house fights back, trapping her in a labyrinth of shifting rooms and endless corridors. Her attempts to escape become increasingly desperate as the mansion's malevolent force tightens its grip. The ritual. In a desperate bid to rid herself of the entity, Evelyn discovers the final entry in Catherine's journal. The entry details a ritual designed to banish the entity but requires a human sacrifice. Struggling with the moral implications of the ritual, Evelyn is driven by the belief that it may be her only chance for freedom. Despite Tom's warnings not to trust the whispers, Evelyn is too far gone, her mind unraveling under the relentless psychological assault. The entity reveals its true, formless, and malevolent nature, a presence that feeds on fear and suffering. The final confrontation. Evelyn prepares for the ritual, gathering the necessary materials and deciding to sacrifice Tom, whose connection to the house makes him a fitting offering. The mansion comes alive in a climactic sequence, with walls shifting, doors slamming shut, and the entity manifesting in a terrifying display of power. In a final confrontation, Evelyn battles both the entity and her own crumbling sanity. The entity reveals its manipulation, showing how it has fed on her trauma and guided her to the mansion. Evelyn realizes too late that she is the true target of the entity's scheme. The entity has used her as a vessel to break free from the mansion's walls. The aftermath. The ritual goes horribly wrong. Instead of banishing the entity, Evelyn inadvertently releases it. The mansion collapses into ruin, but the entity is now free to roam, its influence spreading beyond the mansion's confines. Tom's deeper connection to the mansion is revealed. He was a guardian tasked with keeping the entity imprisoned. His failure to protect Evelyn and prevent her downfall highlights the tragic loss of his watch. Evelyn disappears, either possessed by the entity or driven to madness. The final scene depicts the town in the aftermath of the mansion's collapse. Whispers begin to emerge from the walls of other buildings, hinting at the entity's spreading influence. The once contained malevolence is now free to haunt new victims. Thanks for joining us on this haunting journey with Horror Echo. If you enjoyed the eerie exploration of The Whispering Walls, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more chilling content. Share your thoughts on tonight's story and let us know what other mysteries you'd like us to unravel. Until next time, stay curious and keep your lights on. The darkness may be lurking, but with Horror Echo, you're never alone in the shadows.